The full-time whistle has just blown in Bloemfontein. The world champion South Africa taking on world-ranked number 15 Portugal in a historic first-ever matchup between the two teams. And yeah, my immediate thoughts following the full-time whistle. I'll be very interested to know yours, so leave them in the comments down below. And I'll tell you what, it is just me. I'm Tim, this is Egg Chasers. I do not spend any money on marketing. I just rely on you coming back and maybe telling people as well. So one way you can help me out, it doesn't cost you anything, give the video a thumbs up. I don't understand how the algorithms work, but it helps the message get out there about this channel, and I would love to tell everyone how good that game was. Looked like so much fun. I tell you what, I wish I'd stayed in I wish I'd stayed in South Africa for one more week, because I might have been able to go and watch that. I mean, if I had spent another week in South Africa, that would have made it basically a month, and I might have ended up getting a divorce, and my kids might have forgotten what I looked like. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. But for those people that were there in Bloemfontein, what a treat they were. They got 64 points to 21, it finished. The result was never in doubt, and really it was one of those games where South Africa, you couldn't really win in a sense, because people were expecting them to win big. But with all that said, it was a triumph, just as an occasion, and that's where I want to start this video. We just need to appreciate and celebrate the fact that Portugal, who became everyone's second favourite team during the Rugby World Cup 9 months ago, got to go and play in the backyard of the world champions. And I think South Africa will reflect that they got plenty out of that 80 minutes. But there's a lot of cynicism around sometimes these Tier 1 v Tier 2 matchups. But that was amazing to watch, and what a brilliant opportunity for those players. Some of the Portugal side are semi-professional. Some of them have careers outside of rugby. And there they were playing the world champions and giving a really, really good account of themselves. Let's just take a moment and appreciate the effort of guys like Pinto, the winger. What an absolute baller he is. Bento, the fullback. There's an argument to say he was the man of the match. Best player on the pitch, potentially. I know the context is, maybe I'm amping him up because he was playing for Portugal, but their back three were immense. Santos scoring 2 tries. Just, they came to play, and they added to what was a brilliant atmosphere. Bloemfontein, there was 43,000 people there, total sellout, and I think that's a lesson for the rest of the world as well. I've seen it at Twickenham in England, where they had to shut the whole top tier of Twickenham when England played Fiji. You saw loads of empty seats when Australia were playing Georgia earlier today. There's a lot of talk about, you know, lack of interest in these Tier 2 matchups. Well done, South Africa, for turning out in amazing number. And that maybe is a lesson to everyone. Take games like this to stadiums which are the right size for the matchup it is. 43,000, although I reckon probably they would have sold out Loftus if it had been there as well. So, but just sounded like an absolute riot of an atmosphere. You know, I've said before what a fan I am of the of the DJ in South Africa, the Springbok DJ Dexter. I met him, and he's featured on the channel in videos in the last couple of weeks. So yeah, more on him in a minute. But the anthems, it started off as a great. I'll get into the actual game. But it started off in great fashion with 2 brilliant anthems. I love the fact that the Portuguese anthem was sung by a guy called Just Something. Amazing. And I love the thing that South Africa have been doing, where legends from the past are holding the flag during the anthems. Bismarck du Plessis on this one. And by the way, I watched the pre-game build-up. We got the Supersport build-up, and Frans Steyn was on there. And I talked in my video following following my trip to South Africa. One of the things that strikes you is everybody wears a Bok jersey. Even Frans Steyn, when he goes to the match, was wearing a Bok jersey underneath his lumberjack top. He did actually look like a lumberjack. Big boy, isn't he? Anyway, what a start from Portugal. They go 7-0 up. Amazing try, absolutely unreal. Evan Ruiz, we can talk about what South Africa learned. And in fact, that will be one. I'll plant that seed now. I'll ask the question. Who shone and who flopped a bit for South Africa? Because that's really, bearing in mind Rassie Erasmus is going to be selecting his Rugby Championship squad in the next week. Who has got themselves in that squad and who maybe is on the cusp of playing themselves out of it? I think there was way more positives than negatives, but that moment where on the Portugal line, Evan Ruiz went for it himself. Again, I've said this before about him. Does he try a bit too hard? He got ripped, and then 100 metres and 10 seconds later, Santos is running under the posts, and the Boks are 7-0 down. Amazing moment. Portugal were matching South Africa at scrum time for a bit. The power did tell in the end. Discipline became an issue for South Africa because just before that try, wasn't it, a red card? Eventually it was a red card. It was initially a yellow for Andre Esterhuizen and then went to the bunker for the high tackle. What did you think about that incident? Head-on-head collision. I thought the red card was harsh, if I'm honest. I thought if there was any injury to the player, it wasn't caused by head contact, which looked minimal. It was caused by the fact that Andre Esterhuizen absolutely marmalised him in that tackle, and it was a whiplash. So I thought the red was harsh. It's one of those where I kind of go, yeah, fine, letter of the law. If you're following World Rugby's spreadsheet flowchart, I get how it ends up there. But I did feel a bit sorry for Andre Esterhuizen. That said, could he have tackled lower? Yeah, I suppose he could have done. And actually, that's one thing, and I remember mentioning this at the World Cup, it's one thing South Africa have been very, very good at, is adapting their tackle height. I know Jacques Nienaber, with his physiotherapy background, he massively worked on the mobility and the flexibility of the South African players, and generally speaking, their tackle height has been absolutely outstanding with very few cards. A rare one on this occasion, and there was a yellow to come a bit later on. There was also R.G. Snyman. That, in terms of discipline, that guy just, I don't know whether he finds trouble or whether it comes looking for him, but he's always in the thick of it, isn't it? In the first minute, it was him and 5 Portuguese players. I'd still back R.G. Snyman in that battle, by the way. Ragnar, Viking, son of Snyman. Little bit of handbag. Sometimes I wish refs would let that sort of stuff go as well. Maybe you think I'm a bit old school for saying stuff like that. Anyway, as I say, the power game did start to tell. The scrum pressure did start to come, and it was Jan Hendrik Wessels who got a debut try. The Bulls' third choice hooker, starting at loose head prop for South Africa, and looking pretty handy. Buthelezi with another close range try. Power game really starting to come to the fore. And then Kurtley Arendse from it was a lovely return on a loose kick from Portugal by Apalele Fassi. Break, little nudge, Kurtley Arendse in. Now Arendse, who he would go on and get a yellow card for. What was the yellow card for? Brain fart. It was for a crock roll. Yeah. Which that was that early in the... No, that was in the first half as well, wasn't it? Yeah, so World Rugby are looking at crock rolls a lot more, except when they happen to Malcolm Marx last week. But, again, penalty maybe? Whatever, I don't know. I get it's dangerous. I didn't think Kurtley Arendse... I thought the yellow card was meant to be there for when the letter of the law is weight dropped on the leg, which the referee said that Arendse had done, but I wasn't sure he had done, but fine. Only a yellow card. And actually, I think one of the things that Rassie Erasmus will be probably quite weirdly pleased about with this one, I'll come on to Makazole Mapimpi in a minute. One thing he'll probably be quite pleased about is that they got a proper workout in a match with 14 men, and for some of the game 13 men, because I know that international teams, in fact all rugby teams at all levels, they train quite a lot, a man down, 2 men down in games, but there's no substitute for doing it in an actual test match. And South Africa got, well, basically a whole game with 14 men and 13 for some of it, like I say. There was, Makazole Mapimpi, I will come back to him. Ben Jason Dixon got a try, wasn't it? It was Lacanio Am got a good try as well. He's good enough to play as a 12 and 13 on his own. He did look like he had that sharpness back, didn't he, Lacanio Am? Again, I'll come back to sort of summarising players and who I think did really well and didn't. But it was 29-7 at half-time. Would have been in the 30s. I think it was 5 tries scored. But for Marnie Libok's kicking, he got 2 of the 5 conversions. Some of them you would have expected him to kick. He nailed a touchline one that you'd sort of go, fair enough, not worried about that. But that's only magnified, that kicking issue, based on what's happened in the past and based on the fact that the second coming, Sasha Feinberg and Ngomazulu, came on, and not only his short, long game kicking in open field and his running and offloads and passing generally was amazing, his goal kicking was on point as well. And in this new Tony Brown system of playing, if Sasha Feinberg and Ngomazulu were not a thing, then you'd be saying, yeah, we might let him off with his goal kicking because Marnie Libok's running game is so good. It suits this new style of play South Africa are trying to evolve so well. But they do have Sasha, and that could be a problem for Marnie. More on that. It was 29-7 at half-time. Now, I was looking at South Africa. I was thinking, what would you want if you were a Springbok fan out of this, or if you were Rassie Erasmus watching? I would just want to see shape, pattern, discipline, and get those shapes together. And we saw a bit more of that in this second half. What I quite liked is that it could have gone really loose and really messy. But South Africa, actually, the tries they scored in the second half were well constructed. Portugal had another good start to the half, going coast to coast. And it's easy to love Portugal, isn't it? They're just so much fun to watch. But 44 minutes, it was Morne van den Berg and Sasha Feinberg and Ngomazulu, as I've already mentioned, just came on. And that first minute of Morne van den Berg, I was like, okay, he's here to play. He got he hustled the number 8 with a scrum on their own line. He got a turnover at the other end. He was playing with tempo. I mean, he was at fault for waiting too long for a box kick, but I thought that was a really encouraging performance, particularly a start. Massive defensive hit by Makazole Mapimpi, and then Kurtley Arendse with a break. Elric Lowe was coming on, and it was eventually a try for Makazole Mapimpi there. One of a bunch that he got. In fact, I've lost count of how many tries Mapimpi scored. Was it 4? Hands, yeah, just really, really good stuff, Mapimpi. That was from a set piece, wasn't it? It's straight from a scrum. And it was so well constructed that Kurtley Arendse's dummy run even fooled the cameraman and the director, because we almost missed the try completely. Another try for Mapimpi. Sasha Feinberg and Ngomazulu was the architect of that one. So, that guy is so classy. I've said it on a video a while ago. I've been raving about him for a while. Lots of people have. I'm not new there or unique there. But I've come back, and to my friends that are English that aren't, I was watching intently the South African rugby lately, and I've said the phrase, and I'm going to say it again. I'm not even remotely backward in coming forward and saying Sasha Feinberg and Ngomazulu, future World Player of the Year. What an unbelievable talent. And the way he crafted that try for Makazole Mapimpi was awesome. But then Portugal bounced straight back with another try. And it was actually, to be fair, Feinberg and Ngomazulu is human, because he got stepped and done by Santos for their second try. But then Kwan Horn, wasn't it, who scored that try? That's BJD. There's Kwan Horn. Dominant scrum. And it was Morne van den Berg, little pass backwards through the legs with penalty advantage. Nothing to lose. Horn scored a try made in Ellis Park, finished in the Toyota Stadium in Bloem. And I loved the bit of commentary on this one. I made a note of it. The young Lions have become the full Mufasas. Well played. Well played. Then Sasha, just to add to the ridiculous things he can do, went and knocked a ridiculous 50-22 from just outside his own 22. Absolutely walloped it. And at that point, I was thinking, I actually feel a little bit sorry for Marnie Libok. He's an amazing player, but Sasha is Sasha. Try for Andre Hugo Venter. A try for Madeira for Portugal to finish it off. And then one more try for South Africa, which Sasha did convert again to make it. That final score, 64 points to 21. Really enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed Portugal. Enjoyed that. I think there's a lot of positives for South Africa to take out of that one. They're young guys. It was a good day to be a debutant, wasn't it? And I think they got what they needed out of it, including, as I say, a little bit of practice, a man down. Just a little quick word on the DJ, Dexter. Talked about him a lot. And as I say, it would not work in Twickenham. I never want to hear that in Twickenham, because it's just it wouldn't be right. But it made me miss those South African stadiums, hearing, and I made a list of the songs. Michael Jackson, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. DJ Otzi, Hey Baby. Aha, Take On Me. Bob Marley, Don't You Worry About a Thing. Eminem, Lose Yourself. The Proclaimers, 500 Miles. September by Earth, Wind and Fire. YMCA, it got more and more 70s. It got more and more wedding disco as the game went on. ABBA, Dancing Queen. Alice by Smokey. And Belinda Carlisle. Had to wait till 72 minutes for Belinda Carlisle. Thought it was never going to come. Negatives. There weren't many. Great occasion. Evan Ruiz, potentially. I don't know. Who is going to take that number 8 jersey? Will it be Jasper Wiese for the Rugby Championship? Will he be back in and straight at number 8? I don't know how that one's going to go. Marnie Libok, great running game, goal kicking. Those are 2 negatives. I would suggest. Positives, there were lots. Ben Jason Dixon. It should make you feel okay about the fact that PTSD or PSDT, who gives everyone PTSD, is out, and who knows for how long. I thought that Thomas du Toit, I thought that was a positive. Absolutely hammered the opposition in the scrums. Real big work rate around the game. Apelele Fassi was really good. Kurtley Arendse, obviously, amazing player, brilliant finisher, but it was his defensive work. And actually, that is something that characterises South Africa and South African wingers. They're amazing finishers, but Makazole Mapimpi, he deserved all the tries he got because he did so much work in defence as well. And I appreciate that work that they both did. I thought, I don't know, where do you stand on Salman Murat? I thought he had a big engine and put a lot of work in. I always saw him busy, maybe not standout. Lucanio Am looked like he was sharp again, and bearing in mind he had to do the job of 2 players during the game, I thought he did it really well. And you sort of forget, there were times when he just ran over his opposition, and you forget he's not just quick and elusive, he's a big unit as well. Defence generally, counter-rucks were really good for South Africa. Discipline would be a negative as well. Mapimpi as well. Yeah, as I said, defence great. And the final one, as I've already said, and I'm not going to go on about it too much, or otherwise I'll be accused of being a proper fanboy. Sasha. Very, very good player. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Your thoughts down below. As I say, that's my immediate thoughts, immediately following the full-time whistle. I'll have more to come when I've digested it a little bit more, and I'll probably throw a bit more of a focus on who is going to be in that Rugby Championship squad, because a couple of weeks and South Africa are down in Australia, where they do not have the best of records. And then, of course, it's all, well, for me anyway, because I'm coming back to South Africa to go and see the games at Ellis Park and in Cape Town, it's all building towards those 2 massive matchups between the 2 old enemies, South Africa and New Zealand. What did today do? Which players have got themselves closer to a jersey in those games? How do you view the matchup? And just generally, how good is blooming rugby when you get matchups like that and it's as fun as it was? Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Hit subscribe.